Okay, so the Columbian exchange is what we're going to be diving into here. And to start with, I want you guys actually thinking about McDonald's, I guess, a little bit here. And that we need to think about what are all the ingredients that you're seeing in this, because I want to see if could we have had McDonald's before this Columbian exchange happened. So I want you guys to start listing off on your computers there, what are the ingredients that you see there within a Big Mac Happy, or not Happy Meal, I guess, but a value meal, Big Mac value meal. Write down what are some of the ingredients that go into that you see there. So write it down. Fat. They just put straight fat in there?
Yeah.
Lettuce.
I look at that.
Okay, so write that stuff down. We'll talk about it in a couple seconds here. So what's the ingredient that's in the bread though?
Wheat.
Okay, so what are some of the things? We've had a little bit of time here. It's not been a ton, but I've heard a lot of different ingredients coming out. What are some of these ingredients that we see here in this? Salt. Okay, salt is a big thing in any type of fast food things. Okay, salt's in pretty much everything on that hamburger, and as well as what else? Fries, and as what else? The soda. The soda is also in there a lot. Okay, so salt is a big thing. What else? Stivers? Sesame seeds. Okay, what else do we have?
Potato.
Tomatoes?
Potato.
Oh, you said potatoes. Sorry. Potatoes. Tomatoes are also on there, okay? What else? Beef, okay? So beef comes from what? Cows, okay? Pastor, what were you going to say there? Potatoes, okay? We got lettuce, pickles. What's pickle though? Pickle isn't actually anything.
It's a cucumber.
It's a cucumber, okay? So you got cucumbers on it.
Sesame seeds.
We got sesame seeds there.
Onions.
Onions are on there, yep.
Wheat buns.
You got wheat buns, so you got wheat and eggs and stuff like that that comes from that. Okay? What else? What about that drink? What's in that drink?
Glass.
Okay, we got water, so that's nothing like spectacular ingredients. What are the more important ingredients in there?
Sugar. Phosphoric acid.
Okay, does anyone know what's actually in soda? Like that soda. What kind of soda do we say that is?
Coca-Cola.
Okay, so that's Coca-Cola. What could we say is in that Coca-Cola? What are some of the key ingredients?
High fructose corn syrup.
Okay, the biggest thing is, well, yeah, high fructose corn syrup. That's not really a natural thing, so let's go with the natural thing that it originally was, which was
Cocaine.
sugar. Okay. High fructose corn syrup is not cocaine, although it is just as addictive, if not more. But also, Coca-Cola did have originally Coke in it. It was originally cocaine in there, very small amounts, okay? Which is why it's called Coca-Cola. What's the cola part of the Coca-Cola?
What?
Anyone know where we get the word cola from?
I'm guessing it's two elements. Cola.
No.
I tried cola.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's anyone know what the cola is?
Brown carbonated drink.
No.
Thank you.
Cola is actually it's a nut in Africa that they would use originally in their water to keep it from going bad. And so you put cola nuts in it to make it a little bit sweeter. Okay, so that is also a thing there, another ingredient. Okay, so we got all these different ingredients that go into this that make it possible. Now, I want you to keep these in mind. We'll try to revisit this when we get towards the end of the lecture when we talk about what ingredients come from where. But we're going to see that this product was probably not possible before 1492. Okay. Now there are a couple of slides that are going to be transitions that aren't supposed to be in there, and I don't know how to get rid of them. But the big thing here is we need to know what we're talking about when we talk about the new and the old world. I know we've talked about this before, but just to make sure, okay, New World is what you see there on the left. It's the Atlantic and South America. And then the Old World is Europe, Asia, and Africa. Australia is also lumped in there, but really Australia is its own thing. They're not really connected to anyone. They're doing their own stuff down there with kangaroos and other marsupials. And then the last thing there is, what does Antarctica go with?
Nothing, no one. There's
Yeah, they don't
nothing
fit
there.
anywhere because
There's literally nothing there.
there's nothing there other than some penguins. Yeah. So just as a quick review here of the age of exploration, then as we move forward. Okay, remember this is an age from the 1400s to the 1600s that has the Europeans going out and exploring the world in their new ships called the caravels. Okay, their whole goal is to look and get into contact with Asia. That's what this man there, Columbus, was hoping to do. In 1492, he was hoping to get to Asia, not to the Americas. He didn't know the Americas was there. No one knew that they were there, other than some Vikings back in the day and all the natives that were there already. And so he sailed and accidentally ran into them. But it was good that he ran into them because he was starting to run out of food and water, because he thought it would only be a 3-month journey to Asia. And it's much, much longer than that. Okay? So Columbus is the guy that isn't the guy that kicks this all off or anything like that, but he is the one that leads it to new heights, we'll say. Okay? Vasco da Gama, then just a few years after that, sorry I don't have the date in there on there, I think it's like 1496 though, he actually reaches the Indian Ocean by sailing around the southern coast of Africa. And then Magellan gets his name on the board because he circumnavigated the world. What does it mean to circumnavigate the world?
Go all the way around.
Okay, you go all the way around it. Now, the problem is he didn't do that.
He got killed.
Yeah, he got killed in the Philippines by some cannibals. So, yeah, it didn't work out too well for him, but hey, he still gets remembered by being the one that put forth the mission and got his crew through it. Or got his crew going on it. Now, why would you want to go and do all this stuff? Well, there are 3 reasons that many of the Europeans went for. One was God. What God are we talking about there?
The Christian God.
Christian God. Okay, so they're going and trying to do stuff in the name of God to find new peoples and convert them to Christianity and do all that stuff. They were also going for gold. They wanted to get wealthy from what they were doing. Okay, that's what we can see Christopher Columbus and Vasco da Gama doing in their travels. And then they also wanted to go for glory, because their names would be remembered forever. And you can see Ferdinand Magellan, who didn't successfully circumnavigate the world, but we say did, is still being remembered 500 years later for not doing what he did.
Exactly.
Okay? What else is there to bring up with this? Any questions on the age of exploration?
1492.
Yeah, 1492 is when Columbus sailed.
The ocean blue.
Yeah. But you should follow his idea when Columbus Day rolls around, which is walk into someone's home and then tell them that it's yours.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, I don't know how well that's going to work for you though, so probably don't do that one. But it would be interesting. Okay. Here's a little map showing you all the different routes that they went on. Where did most of the routes originate in, or go to, or go from? I mean,
Europe.
okay, yes, they came out of Europe, but where in Europe? Okay, I heard some people mumble it. So Spain is the main one here. Spain, right here, and also what's this small country there? Portugal. Okay, France has a couple, Britain has a couple, but really the main traveling is going out of Spain and Portugal. Okay, those are the 2 primary leaders in this. Which, when we talked about the colonization of the Americas, they're the 2 ones that take over the most territory. Spain gets, if I go back there, gets almost all of South America except for Brazil here, and they get a good chunk of North America. And Portugal will get a lot of Africa because they're doing this. Okay? Now, they don't take over Africa, they just get ports here and there. But they do get to take advantage of that because they're first. Now, why are the Europeans able to do this? Well, there are many reasons. One, Europe, and I think we've talked about this stuff already as well, so I apologize if this is rehashing that. But the first thing is, it's not that far. Yes, it is a ways, but it was only a 3-month journey or so by ship. Whereas if you tried to go across the Pacific Ocean, it'd be much, much longer than that. Okay, so that's why the Chinese didn't really get to the Americas or set up anything permanent there if they did reach there, although because there are some people that argue that they might have reached there up and around Alaska and stuff like that. Okay. 2, Europe has a really high population, so now you've got a lot of people that can specialize in other things and go around sailing and find a new place to go and colonize. So they're able to send lots of people over to the Americas. That's one of the big things. Okay. 3, there are old rivalries that push them to one-up each other. 4 is they want to spread Christianity, as we just talked about with the gold, glory, and God. 5 is you got the technology there. Not only do you have ships and guns, okay, you got giant cannons on your ships, you have iron tools and other new technologies that the Americans don't have at all. And so when you take an iron tool versus an obsidian tool, do you guys know what obsidian is?
Yes.
What's obsidian?
Volcanic glass.
Okay, so you got a volcanic glass that if you chip away at it, it becomes a really sharp stone and a very, very sharp cutting blade. Even though you have those, they're not as durable. Although they're a lot sharper than steel is, they're not as durable as steel. So when you go up fighting against a guy in fully clad steel armor, or not even fully clad, but partially clad steel armor, it doesn't really do anything. So they're able to take advantage of that. And then the last big thing here is they have diseases that the Americans are not have not been exposed to. We're going to see what the consequences of that are here. So, any questions on things? Okay. Now, the big thing here is, one, this slide is kind of messed up. I should have organized it a little bit better, so I apologize for this. Really, these should probably be switched to make things make more sense, and that the old world had all the stuff on the right, and the new world has everything on the left. But you can think of this as what they're exposed to or what they get from this. So the new world gets all these great diseases like smallpox, measles, yellow fever, there's even more than that. They get all these new diseases that they have never experienced any time before in their life. Okay? What, if you had to make a prediction, what do you think happens? There's a lot of death that's coming. Okay, and we'll get to that. Does anyone know why the Europeans have a lot more diseases though than
Because
their
there's
American
so many
counterparts?
more of them, and they're like all going all throughout their whole like all the other continents and like kind of go in between there.
Okay, so there's a lot more people. That leads to a lot more variation. But that doesn't necessarily explain where the diseases come from. Does anyone know where most of our diseases actually come from? You're close to food. It comes from our interaction with the animals. So when we have all these livestock here that are new to the new world that they didn't have before, and they had very few livestock, that means we've been experiencing more diseases. Okay? And so that makes it, for the Europeans, an advantage when they interact with other people. Now, there are some new diseases that the old world will get, like syphilis, which is not a great disease that you want to get. It's not one that you want to get. Okay, but those ones on the right are probably even worse. Okay. Crop-wise, the new world gets things like sugar and citrus. So if you think about citrus, what are some of the citrus fruits and stuff like that?
Oranges,
grapefruits, limes, all those things. What's a state here in the U.S. that's famous for their citrus?
Georgia.
Florida.
I would say Florida probably because of their oranges. Georgia probably has
Georgia's
citrus,
peaches.
but yeah, they're more the peaches. Okay.
I think they're oranges.
So with that, you wouldn't have that kind of stuff. There were no oranges in Florida before the Europeans came. Does anyone know why the Europeans actually brought that citrus fruit with them to plant?
Because they were trying to trade it originally.
Well, part of it's trade.
Oh, and scurvy, yeah.
The big thing is scurvy, okay? You get that because you don't have enough vitamin C, and that's not good to have, okay? And then livestock, they get all these new livestock animals, so cows, pigs, horses, these were never around before. These are going to be huge for them. In the old world, they get, syphilis, we've already talked about, but then they get a lot of new crops. Two of those really big ones being corn and potatoes, and as well they get some new livestock like turkeys. But that's where you kind of run into an issue here. Like, have any of you guys been to a Renaissance fair or anything like that?
Yes.
No.
Yeah? What's one of the famous cuisines or one of the popular cuisines at a Renaissance fair?
Turkey leg.
Yeah.
A giant turkey leg. Did they have a giant turkey leg back then in the Renaissance or in the Middle Ages?
Oh, yeah.
There was no turkeys then because the Europeans had no access to them. Okay?
Those turkey drum legs are like the messiest things in existence.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of
I'm
them.
gonna say ribs are pretty.
Ribs are pretty bad too. When it comes to messiness. Yeah. I have not. I've been to Medieval Times though, which is in Chicago, which is close to that. But a lot more staged and stuff like that. And then they have you eat chicken. And
Minnesota ran fast and fast.
so, going back to the thing though, here's a little bit more in-depth chart or graphic about it. You can see there's a lot more than the diseases that I brought up. You got things like smallpox, influenza, typhus, measles, malaria, diphtheria, whooping cough. So you have all those diseases there, but then you also have all the livestock. You have the grains going. So there's a lot of things going to the Americas. But then there's also a lot of things going back. But let's go back to your peaches thing that you said. Okay? Were peaches around in Georgia beforehand? No. So Georgia can't be the peach state unless this happens. Okay? What about, do you see anything going over to Europe or Africa or Asia that is a drastic change on things? Like to cuisine or anything like that?
Corn, tomatoes.
Okay, potatoes is a big thing. Like, what's stereotypical? Like, what cultures really need a lot of potatoes?
Ireland.
Ireland's a big one. Idaho is over here in North America, so we will talk about them. But they don't fit that too much since they're not in Europe. But Ireland, those of you that are in German class,
Yeah.
okay, Germans eat a lot of potatoes. You might eat it as Spätzle or something like that.
Yep.
Okay, which is it's a potato noodle. Okay, so you got that kind of stuff. Okay, now, what was the impact of this? This is the big thing that we need to pay attention to, because by the end of this lecture, I want you guys to think about which side, the New World or the Old World, actually it's going to be in a couple slides here, got the best end of this deal. Was it the New World or the Old World? So, if we talk about the negatives of this interaction, we've got one, there's the Great Dying, which is when at least half of the Native American population died, but in some areas you're talking upwards of 90+% dying from diseases. And so millions and millions and millions of natives, American Indians, died, okay, from disease. Nothing you can do about it, okay? Because they weren't exposed to those diseases, they weren't going to survive. They had to build up the immunity. It took us in Europe, Asia, and Africa not millions, but thousands of years to get used to those diseases, and they were still ravaging us. Okay? As well, because their numbers plummet, and because we have them doing work for us, we start to run out of laborers. So we need to find new laborers. So where do we get these new laborers in the Americas then?
Africa.
We get them from Africa. So we get the African transatlantic slave trade. And so we'll talk about that a little bit more next week or so. And then as well, one of the other things that comes in is alcohol. Okay, there wasn't a lot of fermentation of grains or anything like that before this time because they didn't have a lot of grains. The one grain that I would tell you that they did kind of ferment would be in the Andes. I know they fermented corn a little bit for a kind of alcoholic drink there with that, but it wasn't super strong or potent. However, now you get the Europeans coming in with very hard and potent liquors that will wreak havoc on the natives. Okay? And then the last thing that's kind of a negative here is people are forced to convert to Christianity. Okay? Against their will, and if they decide to fight against it, what do you think happens to them?
They die.
They get killed. So they could go find God or hell or whatever faster. Okay? Hell's a bad word. Sorry, I apologize then for that. Okay, where were we now? So positives then. This isn't all bad for the Americas. There are actually some huge bonuses that they get from this. Okay, one, that new livestock. One, gives them a lot more protein sources that then they can have at their dispense. Two, it gives them horses. Horses used to be native to the Americas. However, those horses died out during the Ice Age, and so there were no horses. if you have to think about Native Americans, what do you picture them riding on?
Horses. Well,
Horses.
what else would they ride on?
There wasn't anything else to ride on before then. The only thing that you could think about them riding on is actually not Native Americans as in the North American ones, but you could think of them riding alpacas and llamas down in Peru.
What about camels?
Camels are over in
Aren't they
Asia.
the same as alpacas?
Yes, they are part of the same family. But camels can carry a lot more. Alpacas can only carry about, I want to say like 70, 80 pounds, or some percentage of body weight that goes upwards of that. So
That's 'cause they're
them carrying people is a very difficult thing for them, unless you're talking about like little children. Okay?
I mean, they make great party animals for some reason.
What? They make great party animals?
Great guard.
Guard animals.
Guard lice. Well, they have turkeys. They can guard them with the llamas because they spit and really aggressive.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, oh, this is not good.
Yeah, alpacas are a little bit interesting. Where was I? Okay, so you get all these animals. Then you also get some new crops that supplement the diet, give you new nutritional values, things that can grow better, things like the citrus is a big thing there. And then you also get all the tech. They get all the tech that they never developed themselves. So iron tools, they get guns, they get new clothing or higher quality clothing than what was before. And they also get something else that was never invented in the New World. Does anyone know it? Famous invention that has been with us in Africa and Europe and Asia since the dawn of civilization. They didn't have.
Roads.
It goes along with roads, but they actually had roads. But it's something we use on the roads a lot.
Wheel.
Wheels. The wheel was never invented in the New World. And so this spreading of ideas brought the wheel there, which allowed for quicker transportation along with the horses. So these are a couple images that you can see on the bottom left. You can see smallpox there that's ravaging some American Indians. Why doesn't smallpox ravage them or us anymore? Anyone know why?
Because we eradicated it with a vaccine.
We eradicated it with vaccines, yes. Okay? So, because of that, we don't have to worry about smallpox anymore. However, some of those other diseases that I brought up, we still do deal with, like measles, which is very similar to smallpox.
We're supposed to be we're supposed to be done with that, and then
Yeah.
people like somewhere decided to.
Well, people all across the U.S. are deciding not to vaccinate, which is a problem when you have a herd immunity. Yeah.
Don't they like keep like diseases and stuff in like a little vial somewhere? Like
Yep.
smallpox?
Oh yeah.
I was going to get to that. So,
like research.
actually, no, I had forgotten about that, but I was going to bring it up. So, the big thing is smallpox is eliminated. We don't have smallpox in the wild anymore. There is only one place that you can find it that I know of, and that is down in Georgia at the CDC.
I think they have it in Russia. There's like.
They might have it also in
Yeah.
Russia.
There's like.
That would be the only other place that I would think it would be. I know for sure it's in the CDC. I would presume the Russians also have it as well. But we almost eradicated that too. And then we were like, well, if there's a new disease that comes up similar to that, it would be really nice to have that so then we can use it to make vaccines and whatnot. So you have that. There you can see the Indians working in the mines, the American Indians working in the mines here. That's a representation of Potosi Mine, which is a major silver mine in Bolivia today. You can see the trade going on. You can see the Plains Indians hunting down buffalo. Now, could the Plains Indians have hunted buffalo before this time?
Yes.
Yes. Would that have been easy?
No.
No, because they don't have anything to go as quickly. You actually have on the plains here Native Americans shifting from having a sedentary lifestyle or somewhat sedentary lifestyle and that they're farming occasionally and maybe traveling occasionally to where now they go into fully a nomadic lifestyle of hunting buffalo and living off the land like that. Okay? Now for the old world, if we start with the negatives there, the main disease that's a problem is syphilis, and that'll run rampant through sailors and armies and stuff like that. Not good stuff. But again, I don't think that's as bad as the plethora of diseases that were unleashed on the Americas. Okay? As well, because they're going to get population growth, which is a good thing, they were able to support their larger population and actually get it to grow larger. This will also lead to issues like overpopulation in some cases, and the greatest example of that is in Ireland, where you have the potato blight hit the potato crops, and that kills all the potatoes, which is problematic for the Irish, because does anyone know how much potatoes an Irishman eats a day?
A lot.
About 5 pounds of potatoes a day back then. That was their food, primarily. So when that all went up, they didn't have enough food. But actually, this is kind of a mischaracterization of it, because the Irish actually did have food. But the English forced them to send their wheat crops that they were growing to England, instead of it being kept in Ireland to feed the people. So that's unfortunately why we see a lot of Irish people die, or why a lot of Irish people will immigrate eventually to the United States. Okay? Some of the positives, though, is one, the population grows, okay, primarily because of the potatoes and the corn and all the other plants and crops that come about. But the big things are potatoes and corn are the huge ones for allowing for a larger population. And then as well, the old world reaps a lot of the benefits of what's going on in the new world, in that they get the furs from the natives. They get the gold and the silver that the natives have to mine. They get the cash crops that they force the natives and later the slaves to grow, such as sugar, tobacco, and coffee. And so they get to reap the rewards of this. They get the profits. And so they get really wealthy from this, if you're in the right position. And so you can see, like the Spanish monarchy here, you can see that they are doing fairly well, right? What's their clothing made out of? What does it look like it's made out of there? If you had to guess.
Velvet?
Possibly velvet. They might have some velvet there. The top left picture. What else might it be made out of? What's another expensive fabric?
Silk.
Silk. There's definitely probably silk in those. Okay? So super expensive there, but that's made possible by all the mining and everything else going on. You can see this man's diet changing some. I can't exactly tell you what's on his plate and whatnot, but it looks somewhat nutritious. You got the Irish potato famine going on here, and then here you can see, this is actually in the Americas, not in Europe, but this is the sugar plantations going on in Haiti. Okay, but the Europeans are reaping the rewards of it, as you can see those guys in the bottom right corner getting the harvest. Okay? So this is our second to last question here. Okay, we got 2 left here now. But the one big thing that I want you guys to do is talk for a couple minutes here. Who benefited the most from this exchange? Talk in your tables. What side is it? Is it the new world or the old world? Who gained the most from this?
Yeah, for sure. Because they brought all those diseases over here.
And like benefited, and like in the end, basically took over the social conversation.
I know, right? What do you think about it? Yeah. It does matter what you think.
So what do we think here? Let's do a quick vote here. How many people say that the New World got the best deal out of this?
Wait, the New World got most?
Yeah, got the most benefit. Okay, and you'll say the Old World got the best benefit out of this.
Yes.
Okay, we're pretty much unanimous with the people that are applying their ability to vote. Then we got a lot of people that just aren't voting because, well, that's America, I guess. It takes a lot of effort to vote and raise your hands and stuff. So, why though is it? Let's go into actually some reasons here to work on our reasoning skills. Why is it that you guys say the old world benefits a lot more from this than the new world does? I mean, the new world got horses, which led to a whole change in lifestyle. They got all these different livestock that they couldn't have before, so now you got all these new protein sources. You got things that can pull the plow for you, so you don't have to push the plow yourself. Why isn't it why is that not better than that? Castillo, what do you think there? Sorry.
The New World got diseases deadly, could end up killing them. That's not good.
Okay, so the big thing is diseases there. They were devastating on the Americas. What were some of those diseases again? Just like pull some specific evidence here into our argument. Okay, smallpox is the biggest one, but all those measles, mumps, rubella, all that stuff. Okay, not fun stuff. Okay, measles, mumps, rubella is also a vaccine that you're going to get when you're a little kid, hopefully. So then you don't get the measles outbreak that's hitting Oregon. Okay? What else is there? What other reasons do you guys have for why it's more beneficial for the new world or for the old world than the new world? I mean, I know that disease one is like huge there on the scale of weighing things. Like when you lose 90% of your population versus the other side not losing many is a big thing. But what else do we pull on if we're going to use multiple pieces of evidence to defend something?
I have an answer.
Got one? Okay.
No, also some of the livestock when they went wild because the people decided to be petty and let all the stuff out. But like wild pigs and would like wreak havoc on crops because they'd be like, oh, we're gonna eat everything.
Yeah, and who are the predators for these pigs?
They're still in Europe.
Yeah, the predators are over in Europe. They're not here. So the big thing, yeah, there's a major issue with boars, with pigs. And sometimes it's not that they released them because they were petty. It's they released them because they wanted to have them later. And so they let them run wild because they'd be fine. So you now have in Texas, though, major issues with the boar population, the wild pig population, wreaking havoc on crops as well as attacking people and other animals because there is nothing meant to go after them. Okay? So that would just be a couple examples. Last thing that I want us to do is I want you guys to think of a ethnic dinner. Okay? Do you guys know what I mean by an ethnic dinner? Like think of so okay, we had the same issue in last hour with this. So think about a meal that you would get to that's like a specific place. Like if I thought I was going to go to a British pub, I might get fish and chips or a shepherd's pie or something like that. When I think about that, what? Yeah, there's British food, there's American food, there's Mexican food, Italian food, okay, all that stuff. If I was gonna get the quintessential British meal of fish and chips, okay, was that possible before this interaction of the world? The answer would be no, because the British didn't have chips then, because they didn't have potatoes. Okay, so that's something that comes about with this new thing. Think about like what's an Italian dish? Say it's an Italian dish.
Spaghetti.
Okay, spaghetti. Like what kind of sauce do we have on our spaghetti then?
Tomato.
Okay, it's a tomato sauce. Do you have that
Pizza's way more
beforehand?
No.
No. Okay, so that's a combination of those. You can go with pizza too. We've got some complaints about, hey, pizza would go up there. So pizza is in the same category of things. What's the base of that pizza? It's the sauce. Okay, you got tomato sauce. What else is on that pizza? Let's say you're going with the supreme pizza. What all are you going to find on there?
Sausage, green peppers.
Okay, so peppers. Is that old world or new world? Peppers are new world and stuff. Okay, so all that stuff. A lot of the meals that we have today are meals that are a combination of the new world and old world. You don't have, guys, real quick, you don't have the world that we live in today without this interaction. Some of it might be good, some of it might be bad. We might have seen, and it's easy to say this as being the people that have benefited the most from this, but yes, a lot of the people died from disease. A lot of the natives died, and that's a terrible thing. There is nothing that can make up for that. However, when you look at the world that we live in today and the connections and the food and the environments and stuff like that we live on and that we benefit from, it is all from this interaction of the Columbian Exchange. Okay? And that's one of the big things I want you guys to take away here from this one.